सैम पिट्रोडा सर, जिन्होंने कनेक्टिविटी फॉर ऑल का सपना सच किया, इसलिए उन्हें कहा जाता है फादर ऑफ इंडियाज टेलीकॉम रेवोल्यूशन। ये है यंग इंडियन इन पॉलिटिक्स एंड लेट्स गेट इनटू इट।
But the Gandhian thought, way of life, got embedded in our life, knowingly, unknowingly, and didn't realize that this will become the foundation going forward. I had a girlfriend in India. In those days, to have a girlfriend was very unusual. Plus, she was much more, how would I say it, sophisticated than I was. She came from Nagar family, Brahmin, I'm carpenter. So there were tensions, like typical, So I go in my room and I see TV, and I took the whole TV apart. Okay, because it's like a little monkey. Okay. And I checked everything and I had learned things and I could find it physically there. And I locked myself out of the door. So when I get my dish, Rupen says to me, he says, "You idiot, do you know what you have ordered?" I said, "No." He said, "This is cow's meat. And the red stuff is not ketchup." He said, "That's blood." Okay. I said, "All right, I'll eat it." And I ate the whole thing. In the process, I met Rajiv Gandhi. We were just about same age, 2 years difference. And we got along well. In the process, a lot of people fell in love with each other, and we had, dozens of couples who married there. So it was good. It was a great experience. We decided to make vaccine at a time when India never made any vaccine. And everybody said there is no way you can make vaccines in India at that time. We are the largest producer of vaccine in the world today. We eradicated guinea worm completely from India. No one knows the story of guinea worm. I basically wanted 10 missions, and Rajiv was totally for it. But then we lost election and Rajiv Gandhi got killed.
This day in 1991, former Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated. Gandhi was campaigning in Tamil Nadu for the elections when he was killed by a suicide bomber.
कैसे कॉन्फिडेंस था कि इतनी हम्बल बिगनिंग से भी सक्सेस मिल सकती है?
I was at the elevator at about 10 o'clock at night. I was going to go to my room, and this couple said, "We are here to see if our son is working, because he tells us that he is working here late. We don't believe that you would be working for the government and working this late." So I said, "What's his name?" Whatever it was, they said this. So I said, "Let's go see." So we went to one room near computer room. There were 4 or 5 young people with pillows sitting there and working. And parents were puzzled, saying, "Ye kya hai ye?" So it was that kind of a mood. We had a purpose. We were not just designing a product. We were building a nation. And we were really creating human capacity. But these stories are not told, because then we were busy doing work. Okay. And we had no idea that all these stories need to be told. People have no clue now. And I don't blame them. हर वक्त सोचता रहता कि नया कुछ हो सकता है, कि ये प्रॉब्लम को कैसे सॉल्व करना है. वो डोर नॉब का सॉल्यूशन था. That remained in my head. Everything I saw through problem solving as a young man. I wish more young people could learn and feel that they can also do it. See, that's the bottom line. Bottom line is not that I did it. Bottom line is, if I can do it, you can do much better.
तो सर 1984 में आप इंदिरा गांधी जी की रिक्वेस्ट पर इंडिया वापस आए थे.
So I got a chance to meet Mrs. Indira Gandhi. My message to her and her entire cabinet that she had there was that IT and software and telecom will change the face of India. And a country like India cannot afford not to have semiconductor. We are a country of 1.4 billion people. We have to have everything. We do not make anything of any substance. I'm sorry. I want to challenge everybody. Okay, it's not a negative comment. Okay, it's a challenge. Show me one thing where India, except the software talent, where India stands out, except human capacity. But we have huge amount of talent. See, every district has a lot of young people. Are they really focused on solving local problems? If they all can take charge of solving district level problem, India would be very different.
आज हम बात करने वाले हैं एक ऐसे इंसान की जिन्होंने इंडिया को लिटरली कनेक्ट कर दिया है। नाम है सैम पिट्रोडा। आज हम व्हाट्सएप कॉल करते हैं, वीडियो कॉल करते हैं, सेकंड्स में बात हो जाती है। लेकिन एक टाइम था जब फोन लगवाना मतलब सिफारिश और सालों का इंतजार, और एक कॉल करना मतलब कोई इवेंट, और फिर एंट्री होती है एक इंजीनियर की जो कहते हैं टेक्नोलॉजी सिर्फ एक के लिए नहीं, आम आदमी के लिए भी होनी चाहिए। सैम पिट्रोडा सर, जिन्होंने कनेक्टिविटी फॉर ऑल का सपना सच किया, इसलिए उन्हें कहा जाता है फादर ऑफ इंडिया टेलीकॉम रेवोल्यूशन। इन्होंने एक ऐसा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर दिया है जिसके बिना आज का डिजिटल इंडिया पॉसिबल ही नहीं हो पाता। सैम पिट्रोडा एक नाम, एक सोच और एक ऐसी लेगेसी है जिसके बिना आज इंडिया इमेजिन कर पाना पॉसिबल ही नहीं है। आज हम शुरू करते हैं एक स्पेशल सीरीज विद सैम पिट्रोडा सर, जहां पार्ट 1 में बात होगी उनकी इंस्पायरिंग जर्नी की। कैसे एक छोटे से बैकग्राउंड से निकलकर उन्होंने इंडिया में टेलीकॉम रेवोल्यूशन लाया है और देश को डिजिटली कनेक्ट करवाया है। ये है यंग इंडियन इन पॉलिटिक्स एंड लेट्स गेट इनटू इट। सो सर, आवर फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन टू यू इज, आप ओडिशा के एक छोटे से टाउन में बड़े हुए हैं और गुजरात से आपकी स्कूलिंग हुई है। आपकी अर्ली फैमिली इन्वायरमेंट और स्कूल लाइफ ने आपके इंटरेस्ट को साइंस और टेक्नोलॉजी के टुवर्ड्स कैसे शेप किया?
Thank you. Do you want me to speak in English or Hindi? Because my Hindi is not that great.
Sir, I think we can go forward in any language that you are comfortable in.
Okay, I will try to speak Hindi once in a while.
Sure.
First of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. It is good to see young people interested in knowing more about our past, about journey that some of us older people took. So I'm thankful to you all. I was born and raised in a small little tribal village in Orissa, a place called Titilagad. I was born in British Raj in 1942. Then the independence movement and the spirit was all over, even in a small town like Titilagad. Gandhiji was the role model. I remember growing up in our own house, small little house. There were 5 big pictures on the wall. As you enter the house, you have to look up, and it's a photograph of Gandhiji, Nehru, Sardar Patel, Subhash Chandra Bose, and Maulana Azad. We were 8 brothers and sisters. Right in front of us was a Muslim family. They were also 8. On the left was a Jain family. On right was Sikh Sardar family. And the back was tribal Oriya family. We all lived in peace and harmony. Community was active, ambitious, and looking forward to the fruits of independence. On one hand, there was World War going on, and the other hand, there was independence movement going on. So after 47, everyone's aspirations went up. My own parents could feel the freedom. My father had fourth grade education, but he felt empowered that now he can send his children to English school. The independence meant something very special to that generation. They hoped for Gandhian dream to become a reality, which talked about truth, trust, love, democracy, liberty, freedom, justice. All of these things were not just words. These things meant a new way of life as independent India. Since there were no good schools, no schools at all in sense in Tiklagat, my parents decided to send us to Gujarat because they originally came from Gujarat in 30s looking for work all the way to Orissa because there was drought in Saurashtra. And as a young man, my father thought, I want to go to a greener place. And my older brother and I were sent to Vallabh Vidyanagar in a school called Sarada Mandir. This was a town close to Karamsad where Sardar Patel was born. And it was basically a Gandhian school. Discipline, get up early morning, exercise, eat a little bit, pratna, all the standard stuff. This was long way from home, almost 1,000 miles. Used to take 4 days to get there. From Titlagat to Raipur to Nagpur to Bhusawal to Surat to Baroda to Anand to Vidyanagar. There were no phones in those days for anyone to talk about. So we were disconnected from parents for months and months, and we were too young. But the Gandhian thought, way of life, got embedded in our life, knowingly, unknowingly, and didn't realize that this will become the foundation going forward. It looked like a normal thing to do, but as I went through my own journey and reflect on it at 84 now, I realized the core came from the values of the independent India and the leadership. Truth, trust, love, democracy, diversity meant something very deep, meant something very sort of fundamental in our way of life. So being son of a carpenter, I was always curious to build things. Nail and a hammer was a tool. So I got interested in school in building things. We had some very good teachers in school, loving, caring, and they knew that we came from a distance. So they were a little nicer to us because they knew our parents were not close by. And we used to cry at times as little kids, missing home, didn't know what to do. You had to wash your own dishes. You had to wash your own clothes. And we had never learned some of these things. But that boarding school gave us the foundation on teamwork, living with variety of people, tolerance. And after about 5 years in Vidyanagar, we felt it was time to go to a bigger city. So my older brother and I went to Baroda. And that's when I decided to go to a technical school as part of the MS University in Kalabhavan, where you could learn carpentry, mechanical stuff, learn how to operate lathe, do wiring, machine drawings, and got interested in technology just on my own. It was something you could do with your hands. And I felt comfortable. Finished high school, and I always liked physics because it was so very fundamental. How things work, what is atom? Didn't know anything about anything in a sense, and was curious. Parents never ever asked about grades, about what you study. They just loved us. Never interfered, never even ever asked. In fact, I remember my father, when he came to America in late 70s, one day he asked me, he said, "What did you really study?" And I used to call him Kaka. I said, "Kaka, I studied physics." So his next question was, "What is physics?" So we were empowered by love and trust. So we could do no wrong. We were over-trusted in many ways. So I went to physics, got my BSc in physics, then studied for masters in physics. And one fine day, read in the newspaper that President Kennedy has decided to send man onto the moon. It sounded pretty romantic. You're a young person, don't know anything about moon or how to send man to the moon, but it sounded pretty interesting. So I decided that I'm going to go to America. Told my parents, they said, fine. They had no idea what America is, where America is, nothing. They said, okay, but we didn't have money. So I decided to do a lot of tuition for 2-3 years and made fair amount of money, bought a piece of land, and then took a boat to come to America. It's pretty interesting. I took a boat from Mumbai to Karachi, Karachi to Aden, Aden to Egypt on one side of the Suez Canal, took a bus as part of a group, went to pyramids, picked up boat at the other end, and then went to Naples, went to Pompeii, Genova, took a train from Genova to London. I had a friend, Vinodini Patel. She was in 5th grade with me, and she had married and settled in London. So I wrote to Vinodini and I said, I'm going to come and stay with you. This was my childhood school friend. I contacted her after many, many years, and she was very kind, and I spent 3-4 days with Vinodini. And I had a friend with me, Pupen Trivedi, who was my classmate, and then took a plane from London to New York and a bus from New York to Chicago. This was 62 years ago. Settled in Chicago, built a family. I had a girlfriend in India. In those days, to have a girlfriend was very unusual. Plus, she was much more, how would I say it? sophisticated than I was. She came from Nagar family, Brahmin, I'm carpenter. So there were tensions, like typical, And finally, she came to America and we got married in 1966 and started a family. I have now in US 100 people in my own family. This is my brothers, sisters. They're all married. They all have 2, 3 kids. They are all married. They all have 2, 3 kids. So all 7 brothers and sisters are here. And I had a terrific journey. So that's a short personal journey.
All right, sir. This sounds pretty inspiring. तो सर एक इंडियन स्टूडेंट के तौर पर अमेरिका का एक्सपीरियंस आपके करियर को कैसे इन्फ्लुएंस किया?
बहुत इन्फ्लुएंस किया, क्योंकि यहाँ आने के बाद नई दुनिया देखी. दुनिया दैट आई कुड नॉट इवन इमेजिन. मैं आपको बताऊं कि पहली दफा मैंने जब डोर नॉब देखा तो मुझे बहुत आश्चर्य हुआ, क्योंकि हमारे वहां तो लैच होती है. मैं इतना इंप्रेस हो गया डोर नॉब की डिजाइन से कि मैंने डोर नॉब अच्छी तरह से पढ़ा. ये कैसे डिजाइन किया गया है कि अंदर जाता है फिर बाहर आ जाता है. ओके. और लॉक इस तरफ है, लैच है ही नहीं. मैंने बोला कमाल की डिजाइन है ये. So I saw for the first time revolving door. So I was very impressed. I said, it's a good idea कि हवा अंदर नहीं जा सके, दरवाजा खुला हो तब. So everything I saw with new light. Okay. From fork and knife to chair, table, post office box, screwdriver. And I saw this new world in front of my own eyes. And I said, look at this. These people know how to solve problems. And problem solving got me interested in more and more curiosity. I had learned how to design television in my master's in electronics, but I had never seen television because it wasn't there in India at that time. I had never used telephone in my life before coming to America because there was no telephone. If somebody had telephone, he was too rich to be your friend. So who do you call? So it was a whole new world in front of you. And you want to experiment. You want to let your curiosity go wild and not remain traditional Indian values. I'll give you one example, which may be difficult for some people to grasp. But we had a snowstorm in New York, so our flight landed up in Montreal. So we go to Montreal and we are all put in a 5-star hotel. First time ever you see snow. You had never seen snow in your life. And you had never been to 5-star hotel. You see all this stuff and you say, wow. And you are given your own room. Okay. So I go in my room and I see TV. And I took the whole TV apart. Okay, because it's like a little monkey. Okay. And I checked everything and I had learned things and I could find it physically there. And I locked myself out of the door. Because the door automatically locks. I didn't know that. So I went down and I said, look, I've been locked. Isa, don't worry, I'll give you another key. But here is a coupon to go eat in the restaurant. So Bhupen and I go to a restaurant and the menu is in French. You can hardly read English and now you have French menu. And we had never seen hamburger, hot dog. We didn't know what these things were. Okay, we were dal roti chapati walas. Okay, and we had no names for these things. So you would say, "Give me green one, give me yellow one," you know. So the waiter comes and he says, "What do you want?" And trying to be a little smarter than I was, I said, "What's your specialty?" He said, "Steak." I said, "I'll have one." Then he said, "How do you want?" I didn't know what it meant. I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "How do you want your steak?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "You want medium, well done, medium, or rare?" I had no idea of what he was saying. So I said, "I want rare." And Bhupen was smarter than I was. His parents were lawyers and his grandfather was lawyer. So Bhupen ordered French fries and toast. So when I get my dish, Bhupen says to me, he says, "You idiot, do you know what you have ordered?" I said, "No." He said, "This is cow's meat. And the red stuff is not ketchup." He said, "That's blood." Okay. I said, "All right, I'll eat it." And I ate the whole thing because I had decided that I want to live in the new world. So that curiosity experiment became part of life.
Right,
And there are
sir.
so many interesting lessons I learned that I wish I could share with younger people, you know. So thank you. I don't know why I said all this, but you know,
राइट सर। तो सर यूएस में जीटी के साथ काम करते हुए एडवांस टेलीकॉम एक्सपोजर ने इंडिया के टुवर्ड्स आपके आइडियाज को कैसे शेप किया?
बाय एक्सीडेंट मुझे ये जॉब मिला। कोई मुझे एक्सपीरियंस तो था नहीं डिजिटल में। उस जमाने में किसी के पास एक्सपीरियंस नहीं था। दिस इज 1966। लेकिन एक इंग्लिशमैन ने ये जॉब लिया था। इन बिटवीन हिज वाइफ बिकेम प्रेग्नेंट एंड शी सेड, "आई विल नॉट डिलीवर माय चाइल्ड इन अमेरिका." She wanted to deliver her child in England. So the man called and said, "Look, I cannot accept this job." So now there was an opening. So I had applied, and somebody must have thought that this guy has a master's in physics, master's in electrical engineering. He's okay. So I got a job by accident. I had no clue what digital meant. I mean, I had taken courses and all that, but digital switching I didn't know. I'd taken some very good courses in digital systems and computers and all that in those days. And there was a very small group of about four of us, three or four of us, given the responsibility to investigate digital technology. So we were at the forefront, at the bleeding edge, and things just happen. Sometimes things happen. Planning doesn't work. It just falls in your lap. Uh, Sometimes it comes in your way, and you have to just navigate.
राइटली सर सर। तो सर आपने यूएस में एक पर्सनल डिजिटल डायरी भी इन्वेंट की थी। तो ये अर्ली इनोवेशंस ने आपको बड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स के लिए किस तरीके से और मतलब कैसे प्रिपेयर करा था?
मैं हर वक्त सोचता रहता कि नया कुछ हो सकता है, कि ये प्रॉब्लम को कैसे सॉल्व करना है। वो डोर नॉब का सॉल्यूशन था, दैट रिमेन इन माय हेड। Everything I saw through problem solving as a young man. But it's not only about technology. I realized that later on, that technology is one piece of the puzzle. Sometimes it could be bad, sometimes it could be good. But the real challenge is to solve larger problems that affect large number of people. And there is technology in everything we do. Technology is not something exotic, fancy, urban, elite, sexy. Technology is problem solving. And there are multiple technologies at play everywhere. You need to understand what to apply when and where. There is mechanical, electrical, design. There are all kinds of issues. So you need to take holistic approach for problem solving. Okay.
All right.
So
Right. तो सर 1984 में आप इंदिरा गांधी जी की रिक्वेस्ट पर इंडिया वापस आए थे। तो वो कौन सा मोमेंट था जब आपने डिसाइड किया कि आपको वापस आकर इंडिया के टेलीकॉम चैलेंजेस को हैंडल करना है?
79 में मैं इंडिया गया, बिकॉज आई अर्ली 80s में, सॉरी, एंड ऑफ 79, एंड आई वांटेड टू टेक माय पेरेंट्स टू सी ताजमहल, क्योंकि मैंने कंपनी बेच दी थी, थोड़े बहुत पैसे बनाए। तो हमने सोचा कि पिताजी माताजी को भी कहें कि आपके बच्चे ने कुछ किया। सो आई asked my parents to come from Orissa and took a large suite at Taj Mahal Hotel. Now, my parents had never been to five-star hotel. So we three of us had great time, eating at fancy restaurants and all that. And then I tried to call my wife and I could not make a phone call. It didn't work. So a little bit of arrogance and a lot of ignorance said, I'm going to solve this problem. So I got a chance to meet Mrs. Indira Gandhi through Devgad Baria, Maharaja, who was MP. And my message to her and her entire cabinet that she had there was that IT and software and telecom will change the face of India. This was 1980. And we can do it on our own. The key is to train large number of young people. We don't want technology transfer. We don't want joint venture with anybody. And that made a lot of sense to political bosses then. Indigenous development, local needs, because Indian environment is very hostile. We have 6,500 kilometers of ocean front. So humidity, salty, high temperature, and no power, reliable power. So we had to design systems accordingly. And no Western world would design a system like that because their environment was very different. So she liked the idea, but it took them 3.5 years to do cabinet note. Because they had to send a team here to check it out. Am I just a fly-by-night fellow? Am I just capable, not capable? Experts came here, spent days and days with me. Secretary Electronics, professor from TIFR, head from telecom research, they all came, spent time with me, checked me out, and realized that this guy is real. By then, I had accomplished something in America. I had lots of papers and patents, so I had a little bit of background. And then we set up a cabinet note to get approval for setting up Center for Development of Telematics. In the process, I met Rajiv Gandhi. We were just about same age, 2 years difference. And we got along well. And when Mrs. Gandhi died, I spent an hour with Rajiv Gandhi at his home in January of 85. And that's when I realized that it is time to come back to India for good. Because here is a young prime minister, very ambitious, very capable, open, transparent, energized. And this is time to help build India. This chance will never come again in the history. You are also young. You have young kids. If you have older kids, you won't be able to do it. You have Indian wife who would let you do it. If you had American wife, she won't let you go. So everything seemed to fit in. So I decided to come back for good. But you couldn't work with Prime Minister and still be American citizen. So I had to change my nationality back to Indian. Then I decided to move my family also. My children went to school there, American Embassy School. We were given a house by government and we had a great life. And Rajiv Gandhi gave me political will to do things I could do. He, in a sense, gave meaning to my own life. I could have been just an engineer. I could have built a company like everybody else did. I could have been richer than I am financially. But that would have meant a very narrow interest. My interest and not interest of the people of India. So I saw an opportunity to make a contribution. And I said, this kind of an opportunity will never come again. You can always make money. Okay, you can always build a company. With the Gandhian background, I realized that I don't need much. I'm not interested in fancy cars, golf club, and I'm not that type. Okay. I don't enjoy going to parties and wedding ceremonies and fancy. I just don't do any of that. Okay. So I and my wife supported me. My children supported me and said, Dad, whatever you want to do, we are okay. So I was lucky. Unfortunately, by then, my father had died in America. My mother still lived with me. And, all my brothers and sisters were going through their own settlement here. So we were all busy. And I got a lot of support from young people like you at C. Dot. They were bright, energetic, loving, caring. Best of the best talent you can get was at C. Dot. It was like a big family. Yeah. Totally different work culture, work environment, work ethics, work norms. Okay. It was the best time of my life and best time for many others who worked there. We had a purpose. We were not just designing a product, we were building a nation. And we were really creating human capacity. A lot of young people went to IT because C. Dot was there. Okay, even the Nilkanis of the world used to say, if things don't work out at Infosys, we'll go work at C. Dot. Okay. And then by being closer to Rajiv and getting some of his support and confidence, we decided to move on into many other areas like technology missions for water, literacy, immunization, cooking oil, milk production, like with Korean, you know, uh, so many different interesting projects. Okay. It was romantic. It was like being on drug all the time. You're high because your time is going to run out someday. And you got to get a lot more done. And you didn't know how to do everything. So you had to experiment. Like we decided to make vaccine at a time when India never made any vaccine. And everybody said there is no way you can make vaccines in India at that time. We are the largest producer of vaccine in the world today. We planted seeds. Then people don't know this. Young people have no idea how polio got eradicated. They think some, ad in the newspaper got polio eradicated. Yeah. We are the largest producer of milk today. Korean planted the seeds. We were importing $1 billion worth of cooking oil. and we started producing sunflower seeds, soybean oil, and all kinds of things. So the story goes on and on. We then set up CDAC for supercomputer. That's a story by itself, how we did that. You know, we decided to set up a group on electronic warfare. This was 40 years ago. But these stories are not told because then we were busy doing work. Okay. And we had no idea that all these stories need to be told. You know, people have no clue now. And I don't blame them. Okay. So it was a very interesting journey. I wish more young people could learn and feel that they can also do it. See, that's the bottom line. Bottom line is not that I did it. Bottom line is if I can do it, you can do much better. You have better infrastructure, you have better parent support, you are in a different world today. You have different tools. We didn't have anything then. Okay, we studied with lamps and candle lights. Okay. So nation building is a very complex process. I feel sad today in many ways that people want quick fixes, instant gratification. And people lie and cheat and make stories and want to look good. I see high-level politicians lying, and it bothers me. World over, this has become a challenge. Everybody's focused on power and profit. In the process, as I always say, planet and people don't get the attention they deserve.
ऑलराइट सो टॉकिंग अबाउट सी डॉट की शुरुआत एक रेंटेड होटल से हुई थी जहां बेड्स को डेस्क के रूप में यूज किया जाता था। आपको कैसे कॉन्फिडेंस था कि इतनी हम्बल बिगनिंग से भी सक्सेस मिल सकती है?
जब सी डॉट शुरू हुआ तब राजीव गांधी ने कहा कि आप एशियाड विलेज जाइए, वहां पे सब खाली है, एशियाड गेम्स हो गई है, स्टार्ट योर ऑफिस देयर। सो मैं गया वहां पे। वी हैड लॉट्स ऑफ homes there, you know, everything was there. He said, take over the whole thing. Lekin offices were not air conditioned. For software development, we needed air conditioned offices. So हमने चेक किया तो पता चला कि 9 महीने लगेंगे एयर कंडीशन इंस्टॉल करने में। प्रोजेक्ट था 3 साल का। हमने बोला भाई ये तो नहीं चलेगा। So then I talked to Rajiv, and then we said, there is a hotel, Akbar. After Asia, a lot of hotels were empty. Even Hyatt Hotel used to be very empty. तो मैंने बोला ठीक है, वहां तो एयर कंडीशन है, so we'll work in air conditioned rooms. And we just took 2 floors, 8th and 9th floor or 7th and 8th floor, and started the office on bed. Because we needed computer. In those days, you didn't have laptops, but you had desktops. And slowly changed the beds to furniture. And young people worked long hours. One, it was air conditioned, so everyone was comfortable. 2, you could get free food in the office. So a lot of people just slept there with a pillow. Okay. As they're very interesting young people. Okay. I admire them. I remember once I was at the elevator at about 10 o'clock at night. I was going to go to my room. And this couple said, we are here to see if our son is working because he tells us that he's working here late. We don't believe that you would be working for the government and working this late. So I said, what's his name? Whatever it was, they said this. So I said, let's go see. So we went to one room near computer room. There were 4 or 5 young people with pillows sitting there and working. And parents were puzzled, saying, "Ye kya hai ye?" You know. So it was that kind of a mood. Okay. Um, Once I realized that we don't have girls in the group. So I told Mr. Mimamsi, head of C. I said, "Look, I want to hire 25 girls or 26 girls. So put in an ad in the newspaper that only girls should apply." He said, "You can't do that. Government will object to it." I said, "I don't care. Just put it in." And I said, "In 4 weeks, I want 26 girls hired. That's your job." So about 5, 6 weeks, I came back from US and there were 26 girls hired. In those days, we didn't have many software engineers, but they could do a lot of office work, accounting, and they were also very smart kids. Some of them had BSc in physics, chemistry. And I said, "You can't have an organization for nation building and not have girls in the organization." But people didn't know how to work together as young boys and young girls. They were afraid of each other. They won't talk to each other. Boys won't talk to girls. Okay, because they are all same age and they were worried, and I encourage all that. In the process, a lot of people fell in love with each other, and we had, dozens of couples who married there. You know, so it was good. It was a great experience.
Right, sir. So, sir, what were the qualities that you used to seek in these people?
Energy. When I hire people, I look for people with self-esteem. To me, the most important thing is self-esteem. If you feel good about yourself, you'll feel good about others. I found that in India, we had fragile self-esteem. Everybody would be ready to get hurt. You don't say hello to me and you say hello to somebody else, I'll feel bad. You don't invite me to your party, I won't talk to you for 3 days. As opposed to saying it's okay for you not to invite me. Perfectly all right, next time you'll invite me. So I think stable self-esteem is a starting point for a teamwork. And we needed teamwork. So I would look at the person, figure out, degree don't matter much. Everybody had degree. What courses you've taken, you can learn that. Okay, you got 60% or 58% don't make any difference. But are you comfortable with yourself? Are you going to be a team player? Are you going to work well as a group? Okay. Are you going to work hard? Those things were more important to me. And it paid off. It paid off.
All right, sir. तो सर इंडिया के पहले इंडिजिनस डिजिटल एक्सचेंज डेवलप करना एक बड़ा चैलेंज था। सबसे बड़े टेक्निकल और लॉजिस्टिकल ऑब्स्टिकल्स क्या थे उसमें और आपने उनको ओवरकम कैसे किया?
एक तो वी हैड टू कीप द ड्रीम इन फ्रंट ऑफ पीपल ऑल द टाइम कि आप प्रोडक्ट नहीं डिजाइन कर रहे हैं, आप देश बनाएंगे, आप पूरे देश को कनेक्ट करेंगे. Country of 700 million people then, with multiple languages spread all over the country, would be connected for the first time. Can you imagine the benefit of connecting India? That was the dream. That you're not just working for any project. And I used to meet with everybody once a month. Everybody, all including fellow who serves tea to the head of the department, and spend 2-3 hours together saying where are we, what mistakes we have made, lessons to learn. And it was open, transparent organization. Okay. It was egalitarian management and not hierarchical. People could feel they have a right to complain. They could come to me anytime. Once I remember I just got off the elevator and there were 5, 6 girls and they were doing some goose and I went there and I said, "What's going on?" So this girl said, "No, no, we want to talk to you. Can we get an appointment?" I said, "No, just come right now." So I grabbed one girl and, all 6 came to my office and I said, "What's the issue?" So they said, "Look, we have just joined C dot, but our bosses don't talk to us at all." I said, "Why?" They said, "They come, they do their work, we do our work, and there is no communication. We don't know what is going on." So I said, "Okay, let's start from tomorrow. I'll give you all 26 new hire girls a lecture on telecom. How does telephone work? What is digital switching? Where do you fit in?" So we did that and they felt very good, saying, "Oh, now we understand what we are trying to do. We had no idea. Nobody told us all this." Then I got all the boys separately and said, "Look, these girls are like your sisters and mousies and aunties and, just they're not different animal. So don't be shy. You can hold their hand. It's okay. They won't mind. Okay, your sisters at home." So I said, just deal with them as a person. Talk to them. I had a great secretary, Renu Baveja. And Renu was part of my family. I gave Renu my checkbook and postage stamp and everything. Then Renu, ye karo ye sab. And it was a great team. Okay. So they had to learn to work together. And these are some of the issues that we had to sort it out and learn over a period of time, you know.
ऑलराइट सर। तो अगर आप आज सोचें तो क्या आर&डी के उन सालों में कोई ऐसी चीज थी जो शायद आप आज होते तो अलग कर सकते थे?
No, I don't know the answer because the environment was very different. Times were different. Culture was different. People were different. Now kids are tech savvy. They can push faster than I can. Okay, so now I have to learn from them. Okay. So then there was no cell phone, there was no, nothing. 40 years ago is a long time, you know. See, I have had a very interesting journey by accident. Transistor was born after I was born. I was born in 42, Transistor was born in 47. So I've seen the entire transistor revolution. I worked with vacuum tubes. I worked with people who form Intel. I used their first microprocessor, 4-bit, 8-bit. I've seen all the software development, Apple and Microsoft and operating systems and all, floppy disks and you name it. So I've seen this journey and I had a front row seat in this journey. But I saw it from the viewpoint of emerging poor country and not from the viewpoint of a rich American country or American type Western country which only focused on productivity, efficiency, cost reduction, markets, profits. I saw it a little differently. And there are advantages and there are disadvantages. I saw it by focusing on what could it do for poor people? How would it help them? Okay. How could we improve their lives? So I had a different viewpoint. And in India, when we started IT revolution, the idea was not just to fix India's telephones, but also train large number of young Indians in IT. So software, which require no investment in a job. You need paper and pencil, basically. You don't need machine and factory and building and all that. So we said if we train millions of young in IT, it will become a resource for the world. When I started In telecom, we had 2 million phones for 750 million people. In 40 years, we have almost 1.4 billion phones for 1.4 billion people. Almost everybody is essentially connected. Of course, there are areas in rural where there is no connectivity, but bottom line is India is a connected country of 1.4 billion. Then we did not have any software export. Today we produce almost $250 billion worth of software and service export every year. 5 to 6 million software jobs means 30 to 40 million people got out of poverty. Because each software job means a family is lifted. 300 billion in software export is a lot of money coming into India. And a lot of Indians working abroad, sending money back home, another $100 billion. And that's why India is rich today. People don't realize the contribution of IT and Indian talent, especially young, has made India richer. People respect Indian talent all over the world. I mean, look at, in my generation, you could not think that Indian would be head of IBM. I mean, it was unthinkable. Okay. Now Microsoft, Google, okay, and they're all in their 50s. Okay, 30 years younger than I am. Okay. And we are all proud of them. Okay. They are hardworking, sincere, and they are into management. They are no longer engineers. In my generation, to be brown and be a head of a company was unheard of. Okay. So we have come a long way, not just in America, all over. You go to Middle East, you go to Europe, you go to Australia. Indian talent is globally well accepted, recognized, respected.
Right, sir. So, sir, C dot के बाद you also launched 6 national technology missions. तो आपने उन सेक्टर्स को कैसे चूज किया और वाटर लिटरेसी इम्यूनाइजेशन जैसे एरियाज में टेक्नोलॉजी इंटीग्रेट करने का क्या विजन था?
As I said earlier, technology is problem solving. So we felt that for basic human needs, you need to provide potable drinking water to rural areas mainly. You need to improve literacy because literacy then was 30%. Now it is almost 80%. Okay. So a lot of seeds were planted then for basic needs. Then health. Children's health was the most important thing because infant mortality was very high. You know, in some states, over 100 children will die out of 1,000. That was a big number. So we said immunization is important. Cooking oil, milk, and telecom. Everywhere, technology was an entry point to bring about generational change. I'll give you a very simple example. The first meeting I had on water, I had all these Indian water experts in the room, about 30 people. And I am chairing the meeting on water mission. And everybody's talking about this water, that water. And my question was, I said, do we know how much water dog drinks every day? And somebody said, no. I said, how about cat, camel, donkey, buffalo, cow? If you don't know that, you can't plan. How much water we need for bathing, how much for cooking, how much for drinking? Nobody had answers. I said, do you realize the population of dogs and donkeys and cows and buffaloes in a village? If you can't really quantify their needs, how can you quantify people's need? Then water testing labs. How many water testing labs we have in the country? What does it cost to build a water testing lab? How about excess iron removal, excess fluoride? There is a thing called guinea worm. It's a disease that transforms into a spaghetti-like what do I say, worm comes out of your body. And women get it when they go to fetch water in a village through their feet. In India, we had 39,000 villages with guinea worm. They come out of your ear, and then you have to take a pencil and roll it and pull it out. Just Google guinea worm and you will know. People don't even know. So, as part of the technology mission was, how do we get rid of guinea worm? We eradicated guinea worm completely from India. Okay. No one knows the story of guinea worm. Okay. This was the technology mission. Okay. Somebody said, what are you going to do on literacy? I said, I want to design a dust-free chalk. Because every time there's a dust in the chalk, there'll be this squeaking noise on the board. I said, that's not required. We designed plastic blackboards as opposed to cutting wood for blackboard. We did a lot of interesting things. In immunization, we had to build a cold chain, nationwide cold chain to make sure that the vaccine is potent. Require refrigeration in the train, refrigeration at the station, refrigeration at the hospital, small bag. All that was a massive task. Nobody realizes how it happened. Okay. In a country like India, to build cold chain equipment require industry collaboration. I had series of meetings with CII. Okay. Which company will produce what kind of air conditioning equipment or refrigerated equipment? So there was technology everywhere. But technology was an entry point to bring about generational change. We wanted to create a mission on environment, which we couldn't do. We wanted to create a mission on housing. So I basically wanted 10 missions, and Rajiv was totally for it. But then we lost election and Rajiv Gandhi got killed, and India's dream got derailed.
All right, sir. Talking about another segment, इंडिया के टेलीकॉम कमीशन के पहले चेयरमैन के रूप में आपकी टॉप प्रायोरिटीज क्या थी? आपने एक्सेस एक्सपेंड करने और प्राइवेट सेक्टर पार्टिसिपेशन के बीच बैलेंस कैसे बनाया?
I had multiple priorities. One, to bring new technology, indigenous technology. Two, to bring private enterprise wherever possible without hurting the public sector, to increase production locally. Three, which was more important, is dealing with labor. We had 550,000 employees and roughly 2.5 million phones. So people thought for 5 phones, you need 1 person. And when I said we need 40 million phones, then people say 10 million jobs. I said, no, we are not going to hire any more people. And labor really got wild, saying this man is coming from America, he's anti-labor. And, there was a labor leader, Raghubir Singh, he used to carry gun with him in the office. So everybody said, look, they are going to hurt you, okay, because they see you as a man who is going to destroy unions. So I said, no, I want to work with them. So it took me 18 months to work with labor and with cabinet secretary to really convince them that no more hiring. But I'll get you promotion if you spend 16 years. See, what used to happen is if you are digging a cable from Bangalore to Mysore, the temporary labor that was hired to dig that cable became permanent. And you kept adding people on, and you couldn't carry that salary burden or pension burden. Okay. So we had too many people, and we had wrong kinds of people. People we needed for digital technology we didn't have, and people we had couldn't do the job we needed. So we had to negotiate with labor a new contract. And I spent a lot of time on that. Yeah.
All right, sir. सर तो अर्ली 1990s के लिबरलाइजेशन फेज में टेलीकॉम सेक्टर में आपके गोल्स को कैसे इम्पैक्ट करा?
I think it really helped in many ways. It created private companies like Airtel, ultimately Geo. Licenses in my time, licenses were issued for mobile, and we waited for the GSM and not issued license for the analog technology. And for that, we were criticized in the beginning. Okay. I was criticized that we were not allowing cell phone early enough. We were also not allowing loans from World Bank to come into telecom because they wanted us to take loan to do things that they wanted us to do and not what we needed. So liberalization helped expedite the growth. And then it was explosion. After mobile, took over, first 5-10 years were sweat, but after that it was boom. Okay. An
राइट
entry of
सर,
Geo changed everything.
राइटली सेड सर। तो सर आपने नेशनल नॉलेज कमीशन को भी चेयर करा है। आपके टेलीकॉम और R&D बैकग्राउंड एजुकेशन में इनोवेशन पॉलिसीज को कैसे इन्फ्लुएंस करा था?
See, when Rajiv Gandhi died, I lost my heart. I had run out of money. I had a quadruple bypass, so I had a health issue. And my children were ready to go to college, and I needed money. So I had to come back to America. But I had no visa to come back because I had become Indian citizen. So I came as a tourist and built a company, which you couldn't build as a tourist. So I built on my wife's name. And I had to rebuild my life. I did all that, but that didn't interest me here. So I got involved with United Nations, International Telecom Union, and set up a bank in London called World Tel to privatize telecom world over, like we had done in India. So I took lead in privatizing African telecom in Latin America. I went to China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, you name it. Travel all over the world to convince government to privatize telecom. That connectivity would be very important, networking is essential, and governments cannot do it on their own. I did that for about 7 years, and then Dr. Manmohan Singh got elected as a prime minister. I decided to come back. And I felt that now that telecom revolution is on its way, autopilot, what is the next big thing? And I realized that the knowledge is the next big thing. There was no AI on the horizon then. So I said two big ideas are knowledge and innovation, where people begin to think differently, innovatively, find local solutions with local resources. So I went to Dr. Manmohan Singh and suggested, and he liked the idea. He said, Sam, let's do it right away. I said, no, let me take 6 months to plan, think through. So he wanted to do it in December, and finally we did that in June or July. We announced National Knowledge Commission with very distinguished people. in the commission. We spent 3 years. Then we said we need 1100 universities, and people used to laugh at us, saying, "Are you crazy? That's too many universities in India." Because we had then 250 universities or something like that. Today we have more than 1100 universities. So you have to think differently. Okay. We took about 27 different subjects in Knowledge Commission: access to knowledge, library, network. We built a network called National Knowledge Network. Google it sometime. Many people don't even know what National Knowledge Network is. It is a network to connect 1100 nodes in India to gigabit of bandwidths, to connect all our universities, all our libraries, and all our R&D institutions. People don't even use it effectively. Then innovation was equally important. We wanted many more startups. Now it has become routine, but seeds were planted then. The venture fund was planted then. In Kerala, we set up startup operation in Manmohan Singh's time. Again, those were the seeds. See, there are people who plant seeds and never see shade or fruits, but they plant the right seeds. There are people who just enjoy the shade, and there are people who pick the fruits and tell everybody they did it, which is okay. But these things take a long time. It takes decades to see the fruits. So those two were again very important initiatives. Again, Dr. Manmohan Singh gave me the opportunity, trusted me. I had a very good personal equation with him. And Congress Party gave me all the support I needed. See, many people would ask me saying, "Why do you work with Congress?" And I tell them it's the idea of India. Rooted in Congress is ideology that Gandhi and Nehru and Patel and Subhash Chandra Bose and Maulana Azad and others worked on, which is fundamental to democracy: liberty, freedom, truth, trust, love, that I am committed to. Two, Congress gave me the opportunity to do things that I thought was needed to be done, whether it was Rajiv Gandhi's time, Indira Gandhi's time, or Manmohan Singh's time. I also had good support from others. I shouldn't undermine that. I was with VP Singh, I was with Devi Gowda, I was with Narasimha Rao, and finally with Inder Gujral. I said, I need to leave. Okay. So I had a great time with 7 prime ministers in India. And Knowledge Commission and innovation was the last. Then when BJP came, because of the idea of India they have, I felt this is not for me. So I quit, came back here, and now I'm no longer that young. Okay. So I do my own thing and I have lots of interesting things to do. I'm still active, still reasonably healthy, and I have a wonderful family, 2 great kids, wife I've been married to for many years, and I have no complaints. I'm fulfilled, and I get a lot of support from people like you. So thank you.
ऑलराइट सर। तो सर 2009 से 14 के दौरान पब्लिक इंफॉर्मेशन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के एडवाइजर के रूप में आपने रूरल ब्रॉडबैंड और स्टार्टअप्स को पुश किया। आपके हिसाब से टेक्नोलॉजी इंडिया के यूथ को एम्पावर करने में क्या रोल प्ले करती है?
Today, youth is always on cell phone. So they are empowered. But the point is, how are they using cell phone? That bothers me. Are they watching cricket Bollywood song and useless jokes? Or are they exploring our galaxy, our science, our development? Are they trying to solve using new technology local problems? See, every district has a lot of young people. Are they really focused on solving local problems? If they all can take charge of solving district level problem, India would be very different. India needs to decentralize everything. Today we have centralized everything. I don't want to even talk to Delhi. Okay. I don't want to even talk to my state capital. I want to worry about my district. Okay. What is happening at my district level on water, education, health, environment, global warming, women's problems, children's problem, sports, music. That's what matters to me. Okay, what happens in America don't matter to me. Of course, I'm interested in it, so I can learn. But if enough young people focused on their own district with new technology, India would be very different. Okay. If 20 of you decide that we will meet every Sunday and just discuss district problem, our schools are not working, we don't have enough teachers, so these young girls will say, okay, I'll teach math. Whosoever wants to come. I'll spend 2 hours every week to teach free math. That's what you need in young people, but that's not happening. Okay. I will clean up my streets. I will clean up my garbage. I'll help clean up my rivers. Okay. That's where the young energy needs to go. So my request would be for young people to solve local problems. Take charge. Nobody else is going to do it. If you don't do it, it is not going to get done. They'll talk about it. You have the power to do it. Take the technology, organize people, and get it done. I mean, so many poor people don't get lawyers. And there are 5 young lawyers who said, "No, we'll provide 2 hours a week help to poor people." That's all. That's all you need. Saying here is a group of young lawyers who will give advice to poor people for 2 hours a week each. Okay. That will transform. District level development is the answer. Okay.
All right, so these were some really insightful thoughts. We also have our team with us, and they are very excited to ask you questions. So if
Sure.
you allow us, we can move forward with it.
But I hope this was okay and it was not too long and too boring.
No, sir, it was really insightful. I enjoyed listening to you, and I hope they all do too.
Thank you.
So, Fiza, do you want to ask question?
Sure, please.
Yes. Good evening, sir.
Hi.
Thank you for giving us your time. I would like to ask a question.
Please.
During Rahul Gandhi's tenure, India had a really advanced technology in semiconductors technology. Do you think that India was in a path that becoming a global tech leader at that time? And if you think so, what prevented that momentum from being sustained?
Very good question, Fiza. I don't know how you got to know about it, but we had a semiconductor factory in Punjab. I'd been there several times. It was 5 micron, very advanced facility, and we had a good team under a gentleman called Virendra Mohan, and there were a lot of PhDs. You know, there was a guy called Dr. Zarabi who worked with Virendra, and they were all very talented PhDs. About 40, 50 young people. We were confident that we will become a powerhouse in semiconductor with this team. Unfortunately, the entire plant got burned one day. I have concerns. I don't know whether that was sabotage or not. I don't know that. But as soon as the factory got burned, Rajiv Gandhi and I met, and Rajiv said, Sam, what should we do? I said, we have to rebuild from scratch. But this time we must rebuild 2-micron facility. So we approached US government, and US government said, no, we will not give you 2-micron because it is too advanced. We'll only give you 5-micron. And I said, look, if we reinvest in 5-micron, it will be 5 years behind. It is not worth reinvesting in 5-micron. Okay. Somehow we will find a way to get 2-micron. I met with some important people. I can't say this publicly. And see how we could get 2-micron technology. We had a roadmap worked out. Unfortunately, Rajiv Gandhi got killed. No other prime minister took initiative. We had all the knowledge on what to do. We started losing people. Some of our top people started moving here and there. Some went to Middle East, some went to America. And the whole thing fell apart. We could never recover from it. Then in Manmohan Singh's time, we set up a committee. I was co-chairing with V. Krishnamurthy. And we had all the top people, secretary, IT, and everybody in the committee. And we realized that 25 years down the road, it would require a lot of investment. So we approached Ambani's, we approached Tata. Nobody showed interest in investing. And none of the international companies were also serious, like Intel and others, to give us technology. So we got a commitment from an Israel company, a European company, Philip and others, and part of IBM. The investor in India was JP. They were in construction in UP. I met with them, but I realized that they have no idea what they're talking about. You needed someone like TCS, okay, or Ambani's, but they were busy with their own personal, business plans, and it didn't work out. So unfortunately, we lost the boat. Now we are trying. I don't know how it will fan out, but it is very complicated now. It wasn't that complicated then. Ultimately, it boils down to human capacity. Can we bring 500 PhDs in semiconductor back home? Why would they come? Because they're already making, $500,000 salary. Okay. So it's very complicated. But I wish everybody a luck. I wish all the best. Government has a plan, but I don't think, to me, it's a viable plan. Okay, but time will tell, because there are a lot of, publicity and talk and very little substance. Today, I find there is more hype. And in reality, it is very different. Yeah. But it's a good question. And a country like India cannot afford not to have semiconductor. We are a country of 1.4 billion people. We have to have everything. We got to have drones. Okay, though I'm not into defense, I don't believe in fighting. I'm a non-violent guy. Okay, but there are a lot of applications for drones. We don't even make good drones. Okay, we do not make anything of any substance. I'm sorry. I want to challenge everybody. Okay, it's not a negative comment. Okay, it's a challenge. Show me one thing where India, except the software talent, where India stands out, except human capacity. But we have huge amount of talent. The other day I was reading something on string theory. And there are, 30, 40 key people in string theory in India, physicists. I mean, we should be proud of them. Nobody knows them. We have not celebrated them. We used to give awards to young scientists. This government canceled that. Okay. Saying no, only there'll be one award. It is good to recognize young people. It is good to have multiple awards. Because what happens in Ahmedabad doesn't happen in Bangalore, doesn't happen in Lucknow, doesn't happen in, Calcutta. How do you encourage young people if you don't recognize them? Yeah. So I think the science and technology is on back burner. Okay. Pardon me for saying it. So all this stuff they publicize is all bogus. Yeah. Show me the substance. Okay. But we have a lot of talent. I'm telling you, it is amazing. I was once talking to a guy in Bangalore. He was a professor at one of the institutes we have in Bangalore called Transdisciplinary University. And he was working for the government, and they were working on skin for people who get burns and synthetic skin. And they were the leading researchers in artificial skin and how it could change your face and all that. Fascinating. What happened to it? I don't know. Did we commercialize it? No. Some people did some work. We are a nation of prototypes. We do a lot of prototypes. But a nation of 1.4 billion people can't do prototypes. We have to scale. And it's a challenge. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful response.
I don't think this story has been told properly. This whole semiconductor story. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for asking, Pizza.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, I think Ekta, you can go next.
Namaste, sir. This is Ekta
Hi,
Sharma.
Ekta.
My question to you is that your CDOT project was a mission with many young engineers. So, sir, in today's time, how can young professionals एक effective team को build कर सकते हैं?
First of all, my request to young people would be to first tell them that don't underestimate your power. You are underestimating your power. What you have in terms of energy, enthusiasm, ignorance is asset. It won't last for too long because you'll get into family and you'll get into other things and you'll sort of slow down like many of us. So don't waste your youth. Be overambitious, overconfident, but realistic, and think that you can change India. And don't expect anything to help you or anybody to help you. Nobody's going to help you. Think that way, I'm saying. People will help you, but say you can change. And the starting point is for enough of you to come together. If you decide that every Sunday for 2 hours, 20 of your friends in wherever you are, we'll all come together, have little tea, and talk about issues, whatever issues are. Don't worry about results in the beginning. Education, health, children, road, electricity, garbage, whatever. You will learn about it and you will do something concrete to solve that problem in your local district. Don't worry about Ukraine. Don't worry about Gaza. Fine, worry about it, but you're not going to solve that problem. Okay. Think of local things that need you. Gaza doesn't need you right now. Okay. So my advice would be, one, think big, dream big, network, and solve local problems. And you can do it. Indian youth can change India. No prime minister is going to change India. No government is going to change that much. Okay. Only young will change. And you got to take charge. And I am very impressed with young Indian talent, and especially girls nowadays, believe me, and I mean it. Okay. And they're just smart and they're hardworking, they're loyal, they're, they don't have any vested interests. Okay. So, how do we get that energy channelized? Okay. So, go get it done. Okay.
Yeah, I think Jhalak can ask.
Good evening,
Okay.
sir.
What do you want? Go ahead.
Sir, can you please share how did you deal with disagreements and conflicts within your team?
The only way to resolve conflict is to have open communication. Listen, understand, and be ready to sacrifice. If you're not ready to sacrifice, you cannot resolve conflict. You can't have hard positions. Okay. You got to really put yourself in other person's shoes. You got to have empathy. Sympathy is not good enough. Empathy is important. Saying, what are you going through? It is not what I'm going through that is important for conflict resolution. It is what you are going through. Understand your pain. Okay. Most of the time, people don't listen. They're their position and they're just, trying to win. A short-term win may be a long-term loss. Okay. I would rather resolve conflict and move on. I mean, look at what is going on right now in the world. I mean, look at what is going on in Iran. Look at what is going on in Israel, in Gaza, in Ukraine. It's a very hard position people have taken. I cannot believe that in 2026 we cannot resolve our difference across a table, no matter what the difference is. Okay. I mean, this idea of taking robots and drones and missiles is just stupid. But that's what we do. Gandhiji talked about non-violence. Okay, violence begins at home. Violence against women, violence against children. Okay, violence in the neighborhood. I mean, look at the amount of people who just take lathi and start beating each other. I mean, what kind of human beings are these? That they're beating other human beings. I just don't get it. Okay, what goes in their head? We say take a hockey stick and hit somebody. You know, what's the idea? Okay, if somebody hits you, how would you feel? That guy is also feeling same. So can you say, hold off, let's have a talk. What do you want? What's your problem? Yeah. I saw other day some video somebody had sent me. I don't know how old it is or what. Some woman is being tied and beaten by all group of people in the village because she had some affair with somebody. Come on. Grow up. Okay. It's your value that having affair is problem. That's your problem. That's not her problem. She thinks it's okay, so let her believe in it. Okay. But don't beat her. Explain to her. Talk to her. Love her. Comfort her. But we are still barbaric in many ways. We don't understand the pains of others. Why do people get angry? Angry about what? I also get angry at times on petty stuff. It could be that my ties are not arranged properly or my shoes are not properly, aligned. They're like this as opposed to like that. And I realize after a while that it's a stupid thing to do, but I do it. But in the process, I never hurt anybody. Okay. So I think conflict resolution is a very important thing in the family. You got to resolve conflict with your brothers and sisters and parents and neighbors and teachers and, others. And all you need is one good person like you to resolve conflict. Saying, wait a minute, hands off. I'm here. I'm going to resolve your conflict. What is your problem? What do we need to do? What is the issue? Okay. Because at the end, if you don't resolve, everybody gets hurt. And if you resolve, everybody benefits. And what you gave up today, you will gain it tomorrow. So don't look at conflict resolution from the viewpoint of what you lost today. Okay. Okay.
All right. I think Juhesha can go next.
Good evening, sir.
Hi.
So my question is, you had already worked with Indraji, Rajiv ji, and later Prime Minister Manmohan Singh ji. उनके साथ आपका personal relationship कैसा था? How do you describe it?
I would say they were very generous to me. I would say they were very kind, including Narasimha Rao. We cannot forget him. He was also a prime minister, including VP Singh, including Devi Gowda, including Inder Gujral. I would say they were all very good to me. I had no complaints. Chandrasekhar, I forgot Chandrasekhar. Sorry. He was also prime minister. I worked with him and we had great chemistry. I remember in one cabinet meeting, Chandrasekhar was there. I was in the cabinet meeting doing something on telecom. And Devi Lal was deputy prime minister. And I started speaking something and Devi Lal said, Pitroda Sahab, aap Hindi mein boliye. I said, sir, I'm so sorry. But I don't know the word for fiber optics in Hindi. I don't know the words for many of the terms I'm going to use. So I will have to speak in English. So Chandrasekhar said, Sam, just speak in English. I'll translate for him. Okay. So they were all very kind and very good. Even Devi Lal was very good to me. So I have no complaints. Okay. And they were very, very good. They were doing their job as best as they could. It's not an easy job to do. You cannot make everybody happy in that job. You quickly create enemies. As soon as you make one decision, 10 people get disappointed. Okay. So it's a tough job they have to do. And my job was not to bother them. I never went as an advisor with advice. I never, ever talked work with Rajiv. I've been assigned a task. I know what to do. If I have a question, I'll ask you a little bit. Okay. But it's my job to do it. As an advisor, my job is not to advise you, is to get it done. Okay. So I'll go have tea with Manmohan Singh. We'll have, half an hour chat. Sam, how are things? What is happening? We'll have a good time. And, I'll tell him that everything is okay. Don't worry. We have done this. We have done that. It's okay. So they were very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Dhanashree, do you want to go next?
Good evening, sir. First of all, it's an honor to interact with you. My question to you is that in your early days, what was it that motivated you to push your boundaries? Like, as you mentioned, was it curiosity or your nationalism?
I don't have a good answer, really. But I'm a workaholic. Okay. I do multiple things. I do crazy things. Okay. Even now I'm 84. I get up at 6 and I'll go on till 11 every day at night. Every day. 7 days a week. I have too much to do in this life. Okay. Either I'll write a book or I'll file a patent or I'll read something. I'll talk to people. I'm curious and I want to enjoy every moment of my life. Okay. I don't waste time in lafda jagda, faltu, anything. Okay. Um, the romance with life is important to me. I meet interesting people. I learn from them. There is so much to explore. So much to explore. Okay. One life is not good enough. Okay. So keep doing good things, right things. Somebody asked me once, I was in Peru, and somebody asked me saying, what are the three most important? Just give me three words that are important to you. Yeah. I said, look, it's tough, but let me try. One is love. I got to love everything. I got to love people. I got to love my enemy. I got to love my book. Okay. I got to love my food. I got to love my children. I got to love my neighbor. Okay. Love is the most important thing in life. Second, work. Keep working. People say you're 84. Why are you working? Why don't you retire? I mean, it's a boring thing to do to retire. What do you mean by retire? What do? I just sit in the chair and do what? I might as well be working till I die. I want to die while working. So work, but work means different things to different people. Even now, every day I start my day by sweeping floor. I take a jhadu and sweep my floors. I do that every day. I make my tea. Okay. Sometimes I drive my wife crazy, but I do that. To me, that is work. I make my bed. Okay. These little things are important. Okay. Because then you see, you accomplish something for a day. Okay. Third thing is fulfillment. Be content. No comparison with anybody, no competition. Okay, no, you have a Rolls Royce and I have Faltu car. That's perfectly normal. My shoes are not that great. It's okay. I have a hole in my socks, which is okay. No big deal. Okay, be fulfilled. These three things to me are very important: love, work, and fulfillment.
All right, Sia, do you also want to ask something?
Good evening, sir. Hello. It's been a pleasure to hear you speak. So I wanted to ask that you worked closely with Sri Rajiv Gandhi, and I wanted to know how did he trust technology when India wasn't ready for it at the time?
He was very interested in fixing things. He understood that technology is important to nation building. When we talked about railway reservation using computer, he got it in 30 seconds. We knew that we'll have resistance from the union. He himself, being a pilot, interacted with technology. He had to read all these meters and switches and electronics and displays and all that. So he was very comfortable. I remember once while he was prime minister, I go to his house and he is the secretary. He said, Sam, go in. So I go in, but I can't find him in the big office at his home. So I said, Rajiv, and he's in a corner somewhere on a little step ladder changing a bulb. The Prime Minister of India. And he said, I was there. He said, can you give me that something, whatever, screwdriver or something? And he could have asked anybody to come fix that bulb. Maybe it was flickering. But he would rather fix it himself. So he was that kind of a person. Okay. He was very comfortable with technology. He embraced technology. He had his own laptop, and though those were the early days, there was nothing like operating system then. There was no DOS or anything. But he planted the seeds, and he was good. Yeah.
Shakti, you can ask next.
हेलो सर, मेरा नाम शक्ति कुमार है।
Hi.
मेरा क्वेश्चन है कि आपको एक मिनिमलिस्ट और हैंड ऑन मैनेजर के रूप में जाना जाता है, तो आपकी जो पर्सनल वैल्यूज़ है उन्होंने आपके टेक्नोलॉजी और पॉलिसी को लेकर के विचार को कैसे इन्फ्लुएंस किया?
मैं समझा नहीं आपका प्रश्न।
सर, आपको एक मिनिमलिस्ट और हैंड ऑन मैनेजर के रूप में जाना जाता है, तो आपके जो पर्सनल वैल्यूज़ है जैसे कि आप हार्ड वर्किंग है, सिंप्लिसिटी है, तो इन सब चीज़ों ने आपकी टेक्नोलॉजी और पॉलिसी को लेकर के जो विचार हैं उसको कैसे इन्फ्लुएंस किया?
It's a integral part of what you think. आपकी सोच ये सब चीजों को एक साथ लेके आगे बढ़ती है। अब हमने कहा कि भाई टेलीफोन के लिए एक्सेस इज मोर इंपॉर्टेंट देन टेलीफोन डेंसिटी। उसका मतलब ये हुआ कि जिनके पास पैसे हैं वो फोन खरीद सकते हैं, उसकी डिजाइन इस तरफ की होगी। और जो पब्लिक फोन बनाना है, जो एक कॉफी शॉप में, टी शॉप में लगेगा, पान शॉप में, वेर 100 लोग जाके एक एक फोन कर सकते हैं और खाली वो कॉल के पैसे देने हैं उनको, उसके लिए डिजाइन अलग होगी। सो द आइडिया बिहाइंड एक्सेस टू टेलीफोन versus telephone density comes from the inner desire to have technology for large number of people. So कभी कभी ये सीधा नहीं होता कि सिंपल ट्रांसलेशन हो सके, but your values define your policies. Your policies are not focused only on productivity, efficiency, cost reduction, profit. But your policies are defined by how people would benefit at large. Okay.
Thank you.
I think Anish, you can go next.
Good evening, sir. Thanks for your time and lecture. So, मेरा सवाल ये है कि आप जब सी डॉट के बारे में बता रहे थे, आप आपने भी पब्लिक डोमेन में बताया कि आप ₹1 as a token money लिए for your whole time period. So what this gesture of yours send a message to your team and also to the people who were working with you that time?
I think it was a very simple gesture from my side saying, look, I've already made enough money in America, and taking salary from India won't add much. Okay, because salary, no matter what you say, is very small in India in terms of rupee. I got my education almost free. I never paid for my tuition basically in India. It was some 100 rupees, 200 rupees. I got my master's in physics for probably $20 today's value. So it is time for me to work free. Okay. I'm not doing any favor to anybody. It'll be more hassle to earn money in India by filing income tax form and this and that. I don't have any income tax form in India. I have no income in India. Never invested in any stock, including Reliance or any other stock. I have no financial interest in India. I said all my financial interest would be in America. All my social contribution as much as possible would be in India. That also says to everybody that, look, I have no financial interest. I don't want to make money out of it. Okay. People were puzzled. The Minister of Electronics called me and said, Mr. Gandhi would like, Rajiv Gandhi would like to know what is that you want. I said, nothing. He said, what do you mean? Do you want consulting agreement? I said, no. Do you want joint venture agreement? I said, no. Okay. Do you want some technology transfer fee? No. What do you want? Nothing. I don't want anything. I want an opportunity to get it done. That itself is more important. Okay. So it wasn't anything fancy.
All right, sir. This is gonna be our last question. Khushali, do you want to ask anything?
Yes, good evening, sir. I'm Khushali Solanki, and it's truly an honor to speak before you. So my question to you is ki, what keeps you motivated, like even in your 80s, to continue speaking and delivering such insightful lectures in universities and forums worldwide?
Because it is interesting. Otherwise, it will be boring. Okay. What would I do in the morning? If I talk to you all, it's interesting. You are my children and their children. I have a granddaughter who is 15-year-old. Okay. So I feel that way. You may not feel that way, but I feel that way. Just to see a smile on Shreya is good for me. Okay. Don't ask me why. Okay. But I feel good. Okay. That she looks like somebody from my family. Okay. And I went on like this because her expression while talking to me told me a lot. Okay. I'm telling you, this thing went on for 2 hours because I could read her face. I could read her vibe. And that made me feel good. Okay. So now you can blame me saying, what the hell you have to do with Shreya? Nothing. Okay. I may never meet her in my life. Okay. But while I was with her, I got connected. I felt good. Okay. And if some of you get to listen to it and gain something out of it, it's great. Okay. You have much bigger opportunities. You have a better environment. I want you to change India. I want you to take charge at district level. I know you can do it. And not enough people send that message. I don't have political message. I don't want you to vote for me. Okay. I don't have advice in that sense, but I want to share with you. You may like something, you may not like something. Somebody might say, oh, this guy was a disaster. which is okay also. So you don't have to agree with me on everything. Okay.
All right, sir. Thank you so much इतने पर्सनल इंसाइट्स शेयर करने के लिए। तो दोस्तों यही रैप अप करते हैं पार्ट 1 ऑफ दिस सुपर इंटरेस्टिंग कॉन्वर्सेशन।
कितना टाइम हुआ? 2 घंटा हुआ?
हाँ सर, 2 घंटा होने वाला होगा।
Can you believe that? And when I saw your questions, I said, look, this cannot be done in 1 hour or 30 minutes. And we have just took one topic. We have so much to talk if you want.
Right.
Okay. Good.
So I think we can wrap it up. So can I
Thank
just
you,
end
Shreya, and thanks everybody. Go ahead, Shreya. You can do the
it?
closing.
ऑलराइट, तो दोस्तों यहीं पे रैप अप करते हैं पार्ट 1 ऑफ दिस सुपर इंटरेस्टिंग कॉन्वर्सेशन। जल्दी ही मिलते हैं पार्ट 2 में, जहां बात होगी सर के साथ डेमोक्रेसी, डेटा और जॉब्स के रियल चैलेंजेस पे, थोड़ा सीरियस और थोड़ा स्पाइसी। तब तक के लिए स्टे ट्यून्ड, स्टे क्यूरियस। ये है यंग इंडियन इन पॉलिटिक्स। सी यू इन द नेक्स्ट वन। थैंक यू सो मच। थैंक यू सर।
Thanks, everybody.